Is your cat straining to urinate, urinating in different places, passing bloody urine? He or she could have FIC, feline interstitial cystitis. In this video, Pixie and I are going to show you what you can do about it at home. We're having a brand new webinar on cats, what to feed your cat, what not to feed your cat, plus the most important natural remedies you can use to treat your cat at home. You can click the link in the box below to sign up. One of the most common conditions our cats can get used to be called FLUTD, feline lower urinary tract disease. FLUTD, the name has since been changed a number of times. Some people used to call it FUS. Some people used to call it Pandora's syndrome. Now we know it as FIC, or feline interstitial cystitis. We used to think that FIC was specifically related to diet. So years ago, veterinarians formulated specific types of food to make the cat food more acidic. The thought was if you make the cat more acidic, you have less type of crystals. There's less crystals, you have less bladder inflammation. Since turns out, that's all wrong. We now know that the most important cause of FIC in our cats, it is related to stress. So cats can have increased amounts of stress, increased amounts of anxiety. The result with them is they actually have bladder inflammation. So think of this plastic cup here. This is the urinary bladder. There's a lining in every cat's urinary bladder, and it looks kind of like this plastic bag. It's known as the GAG, glycosaminoglycans. So Pixie's bladder, kind of like this plastic cup. There's an inside lining to her bladder wall, kind of like this plastic bag, the glycosaminoglycans. And her urine is supposed to be kept inside that plastic bag, not touching the lining of her bladder wall. So you get repeated bouts of stressful events. You get a breakdown in the plastic bag, the lining of the bladder wall. Then you have urine touching our plastic cup, touching the lining of the bladder, and guess what? Then you get bladder inflammation. And that's what's causing the repeated bouts of bloody urine, the straining to urinate, all the other clinical signs that you're seeing with FIC. Here's the anxiety or stress. It's the knife. It affects the lining of the bladder, the plastic bag. Urine is leaking out. It's now in contact with the bladder. So if Pixie were a male cat and she was straining to urinate, not passing any urine, that's the cats that are worried about being completely obstructed. Then you need to get into your veterinarian as soon as possible. You have to ensure that there isn't a blockage preventing her from urinating. But fortunately, because Pixie is a female, if she had a bout of intermittent bloody urine, it's very unlikely she's obstructed. More likely she just has FUS. And this is something which can be amenable to a bunch of these different home remedies. So if she had a big flare up of the FIC where she's straining to urinate, passing a bit of bloody urine, while that happens, there aren't a number of veterinary things that are really specifically helpful. More than anything, it seems to be that time is more important than anything else. Each episode can last somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks. But there's two things in particular you can focus on. Number one, a painkiller. So traditionally in veterinary practice, we're looking at pain medications. That can be the narcotics such as butorphanol and or something like this drug, gabapentin. Generally, they're pretty effective. If we're looking at a holistic option, the most important thing you want to consider would be this CBD or cannabidiol. The CBD, it's shown to be an effective pain reliever for our cats. We're looking at doses of 1 drop per 10 pounds, which is 3 milligrams per 10 pounds of our supplement. And that could be given twice a day to a cat that has an outbreak of FIC. The second medication that is often given are antispasmodics. Because here what we're trying to do is relax the wall of the urethra. That's where all the urine is passing through. So traditionally in veterinary practice, we'd be looking at something like diazepam, which is Valium. But there are a couple other natural antispasmodics. Number one is this valerian root extract. We're looking at cat doses of 1/4 ml of the tincture, which is about 1/4 full of a dropper full here. Just edit it out, it's about there. And that could be given 2 to 3 times a day during an episode. Pixie's not super crazy of being up here, but turns out if she gets some catnip, that makes her feel a little bit more happy about it. Turns out that catnip, it's also got properties that make it a natural antispasmodic. So we have a cat that has an outbreak of FIC, also break out the catnip. That may help decrease the spasms, make them feel a lot better. The third big principle here is we need to decrease anxiety. So a couple options. Number one, you can look at naturally decreasing levels of your cat's anxiety. There's an amino acid found in green tea. It's called L-theanine. It's been shown to be beneficial for many of these cats which have anxiety. Pretty typical cat dose. We're looking at 1 to 2 milligrams per pound per 10 pounds of body weight twice a day. Another holistic option which may be beneficial for a cat with anxiety is CBD cannabidiol. We're looking at doses of 3 milligrams per 10 pounds of body weight once to twice daily. And another natural option could be the natural pheromone. There's a product called Feel Away, which you can plug in as a diffuser. It mimics sort of the natural hormones that cats release when they're happy. Many of these cats seem to be more content when they have Feel Away diffusing through the house. And that can also help decrease their level of stress. And then you can have less episodes of repeated bouts of these UTIs or FIC. Next, the big thing you're thinking about is fluid. We want to get more fluid into your cat's diet. When there's more fluid going into the urinary bladder, it's going to be more diluted. It's going to decrease levels of inflammation. Secondarily, we can also add things into the fluid, such as certain teas, which can also help decrease your cat's anxiety. It may also decrease levels of bladder inflammation. So number one, if your cat is on a dry cat kibble, get her on a good quality canned cat food, as Pixie is eating here. Then the most important thing is there's so much more additional moisture in that canned food. Additional moisture, we see far decreased incidence of FIC. Next, you can also look at adding in additional moisture. And when I had clients in the past had cats with this conditions, I would actually get them to get a syringe, such as this 20cc syringe here. I would actually get them to make up some chamomile tea, which I've got made up here. And I'd have them treating their cat 2 or 3 times a day. 20 cc's, about a couple tablespoons, 2 to 3 times a day. This way you're providing the additional fluid that your cat needs. You're giving them chamomile, which is a great natural anti-anxiety tea. And thirdly, you're actually going to speed up resolution of those clinical signs. The act of putting more fluid within the bladder stretches the lining of the bladder, and that actually provides natural pain relief. I mentioned this one herb called slippery elm. It's been used for people that have interstitial cystitis, which is very similar to our cats that have FIC. So what they're finding with slippery elm is that it works by decreasing inflammation within the mucous membranes. Just so happens that the inside lining of that bladder wall, it's very much related to the mucous membranes that are in your mouth, that are going down their throat. Slippery elm is also used in our cats that have kidney failure. So cats tolerate it really well. It's very safe. It may also help decrease that inflammation, naturally healing your cat that has FIC. And a pretty standard cat slippery elm dose is 1 400 milligram capsule daily, and or half of those capsules twice a day. You can break it open and sprinkle it into your cat's food. And then the last part of you helping your cat naturally at home is by supplementing with something that's going to help build up that bladder wall lining. So what you're wanting to do is supplement your cat's diet with something that's going to help rebuild this plastic bag, the lining of the bladder wall. The bladder wall lining, it's made up of something called GAG or glycosaminoglycans. And it just turns out that glucosamine and chondroitin, those are part of the building blocks of the GAG, the glycosaminoglycans. In our supplement, Ultimate Feline Health Formula, it has additional glucosamine, it has additional chondroitin. That very well may help your cat that has repeated bouts of FIC. So Pixie, as you can see, she's not crazy about being filmed, but I think she likes her Ultimate Feline. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Veterinary Secrets of how you can help your cat at home with FIC. Click up there to subscribe, hit the bell to sign up for notifications. And then when you click the link in the box below, you can sign up for a brand new webinar on cat health and nutrition. What to feed your cat, what not to feed your cat, plus the most important natural remedies that you can use to heal your cat at home.